Progress is great, right? We all want to make it in something. I want it, you want it, and it feels good when we make it. But when you aren't making the progress that you feel like you should be, it hurts a little. And the more that this happened, it starts to really hurt. And the problem isn't actually you, right? You are not the issue with your progress, but it's a combination of lies that you've been told about how to actually make progress and that you've unfortunately bought into that's destroying your ability to actually make it. Now, I bought into these lies a couple years ago too, and now that I've actually made progress towards something and committed to a journey for myself, I can tell you that progress is not what it's made out to be, especially on social media. For months, I was struggling to actually figure out what to do, what I wanted to commit to, and just why I wasn't making even progress in the little things in my life, like the gym and my diet. And I was just binging hours and hours of content from multiple different YouTubers from all walks of life, trying to implement what they all said. When I came to just finally realize what the actual problem was, the problem is that progress is perceived as something that can be obtained with just a week's time of good habits and getting a lot of work done quickly and just getting on your grind for a week and then it'll all fall into place. And that's just not it, right? This is one of the core lies that is preached. Now, if you listen to the rest of this video, I'm going to tell you what progress is truly about and how you can go about making the progress that you actually want for the first time in your life. First, there is a huge common misconception and belief that progress is somewhat linear, right? Which is just straight up not true, right? It was drilled into me through these months going over these YouTube gurus and taking all what they had to say in, is that the first and foremost lie that they push is that progress is something that's linear and can be guaranteed and calculated within like a certain time range. And for some things, this is a little more accurate than others, right? Like for fitness, right? If you are actually fully consistent in it, you can somewhat guess the time range that it's going to take to hit a certain goal. But again, progress is not something that's linear. And for most people is not going to be readily apparent when you first start doing something. In no field ever has the progress truly just been linear. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't take things day by day, right? Each day is important. And each day that you make progress is building to something, but it's not a linear reward system. The structure of society and life in general, right? The game of life that we're involved in is an exponential system with compounding returns, right? I realized this when my first video that actually started getting views started climbing up, right? Because I had had no views on my prior videos, right? Barely any views. And I still get, I'm not pushing hundreds of thousand views out here, but when I started getting views on that one video, I started getting returns on all the other video investments that I had made because people went from that video and the people that liked it started watching my other ones. Right? So just because I didn't see the immediate return and that linear progress, that one video that gave me a couple thousand views on that one also gave me a couple thousand views throughout the other videos that people started to watch. Right? It was like a trickle down effect. And this is that compounding effect from your work and how progress actually works. Right? Once you get that one big break, if you've been building towards something and have a body of proof behind you, right? People are going to see that. They're going to get drawn into that. Just because you're not immediately seeing growth and progress that is 100% clear and apparent to you doesn't mean that you're not actually building towards something. Right? It's just like in the gym, if you go for a week and you don't see your bicep get to the point that you want it to be at, that doesn't mean that you didn't do any work or make any progress towards it. It's just not visible and apparent yet. Like I used to have literal noodle arms. And, my bicep is not huge, but it's bigger than it was. Right? And the progress is being made and I'm pushing further every single day. And that's what it's about. It's about stacking the small wins so that compounding return really makes itself apparent and the change really starts to usher in. Right. A guy who takes himself from a 4 to a 10 is not going to see a crazy amount of change from elevating himself from a 4 to a 6. But right, he's going to start seeing change around that 7 mark where people start to pay more attention. And then as you climb, just going up incrementally, right? There's not a crazy difference between a 7 and an 8, and an 8 and a 9, and a 9 and a 10. But each mark that you move up, you're going to see exponential returns on how much people pay attention to you, how much people want to be around you. With this concept that we're playing an exponential game and that the returns of the game are compounding, right? The good news with this is that if you want to make progress, you can use this to your advantage. And especially this is something that you should keep in mind with everything that you do. But if you work hard and work smart, then you are guaranteed to speed up progress in basically anything. It seems like a super simple concept and kind of like anybody with 5 brain cells could throw this together. But the more you work, the more progress you will see in most areas, but only if you're working smart. The guy who posts once a day on Twitter is going to see less growth and progress than the guy who's posting 10 times a day on Twitter, even though they're both consistently posting. And even if the first guy has way more gems in there and way more quality content in that one post every day, the guy who's posting 10 times is getting more exposure, building that body of work, and getting reps in so that he becomes better and better at creating content that people want, right? There's more reference points, there's more information to go off of. So the more you put into something, the more work and time you put into something, you are not only just going to get better at it, but you're going to gain insights into the actual things that people want, the actual things that you're doing that are working. And then you can eliminate the things that you're doing that aren't working, which allows you to work harder and smarter at the same time. A lot of people like to confuse this, and I used to confuse this with just, you should work as much as possible until you're basically fried and then go to bed and do it again the next day. But this does not mean forcing yourself to work every waking moment, right? When you work, make it quality work time that you're actually dedicating to, you're fully engaged in and alert. If you go into the gym and you work out for 4 hours, it is not better than somebody who works super hard, works out their body super hard for that whole hour, and then gets out of the gym, right? The 4 hours is worse because not only are you just taking hours of time that you could be using on something else, but you're draining your body completely. The quality of your reps go down. The amount of effort you put in over the course of the workout goes down. And you're just draining yourself completely for the rest of the day with not that much difference in growth between somebody who's working out an hour and a half. Right? As long as they're working hard and smart in that hour and a half, they are going to be leagues ahead of you just moving weights around for 4 hours. The problem that you're actually probably facing, that you don't even know it, and I was doing this forever and I had no idea, is that I just wasn't working on the right things, and you might not be either. Right? I was working on a lot of the things that either didn't matter, didn't have a return, or I was simply just deluding myself in thinking that certain things were productive when they were just literally wasting time. If you're trying to actually build something, create something, make progress in something, you have to isolate your biggest return tasks in that area. You have to isolate what gets you up and going, what pushes you to be better, and what gives you that return when you actually put the effort in. If you're trying to get better at content, for example, right, like I was, do you think it's better for me to make the perfect video and really nitpick every single thing that I do constantly and create one video in 2 weeks just nitpicking and trying to make the perfect video? Or do you think it's better for me to make a bunch of videos that I'm actually interested in, be my authentic self, give you what I think is valuable and helpful, and just try and get better and better each time I make a video, right? In the long run, and even in the pretty short run, making more authentic videos while trying to get better is going to yield me better results because I'm getting more exposure, more feedback on what works and what doesn't. And then I can put more effort and research into the things that I want to improve. and I know what's working and what's not, right? If I just put out that 2-week effort into one video where I try and make it perfect, and if it flops, right? And that's just a waste of 2 weeks. And I know now, all I know is that what people don't want from me, and I just put 2 weeks of effort into it. And then if it actually pops off, then I really don't have a basis to go off of besides putting in another 2 weeks to make another video like it. And that's just not going to be the best for my personal growth as a speaker. And it's not going to be the best for progress as giving me a bunch of points and insights to look at to see what works and really doesn't. Because in a month, I will have only created 2 products that I can actually evaluate. Right? That's horrible if you're trying to actually make progress and get better at something. Work on the main things that really give you a return and just try and become the best that you can at those things. Right? Do not expect your progress to be linear and that each day you get an increasing amount of return, but know that you are building towards that moment of a compounding return where everything is going to explode and you are going to get that reward that you've been looking for. Building this sort of work ethic and mentality is a big part of becoming that elite productive person. And if you actually want to become an elite worker, super productive, and just know where to take your work and your life in the future, and you're just really struggling with that right now, try this out. And in the link in the description, there's going to be 2 links. One of them is going to be just to a free habit tracker that I created and I use literally every month to keep me on track and to keep me focused on the goals that I actually want to hit. And the second link is going to be a one-on-one call with me where I can personally help you with your specific situation, get into that right work mindset, get clarity on what you need to work on next, and just genuinely help you make the progress that you want. So if that sounds interesting, click those links in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was valuable. Like and subscribe if it was. And as always, stay blessed.